My neighbor helped fix my sink, but what happened next was not about plumbing. Today I have a story that starts with a broken sink and ends somewhere I never thought I'd go. It was supposed to be a quick favor, my neighbor offering to help with a simple plumbing issue I didn't think twice. He was friendly, respectful, and always willing to lend a hand, but that afternoon as the water stopped dripping, something else started building. Tension, curiosity, something unspoken. The way he looked at me. The way the silence stretched between us. What happened next had nothing to do with tools or faucets, and everything to do with emotions I hadn't felt in years. Stay with me because this story might make you question where the real leaks in your life are coming from. When I opened the door, he stood there, my neighbor's sleeves rolled up, a crooked smile playing on his lips. I only needed my sink fixed, nothing more. Or so I thought, as he knelt beneath the counter, every casual touch, every lingering glance sent a tremor through me. The air grew thick, charged with something neither of us dared name. One wrong move, one stolen second, and everything would change. I should have stepped back. I should have ignored the way his hand brushed mine, but I did not. And in that moment, the line between us shattered. It had been a long, tiring week. Between work errands and the endless pile of responsibilities, I barely had the energy to notice the small problems stacking up in my apartment. The dripping sink was just another irritation I had shoved to the back of my mind until the sound became impossible to ignore. That slow, rhythmic dripping late at night felt like a taunt, reminding me of everything I had yet to fix in my life. And I had no choice but to ask for help. My neighbor Ryan lived just across the hall. He was always friendly, always willing to lend a hand. We had exchanged polite smiles in the hallway, brief conversations while collecting mail, nothing more. He was the kind of man you trusted instinctively. Warm brown eyes, easy laughter, an aura of calm that wrapped around you without asking permission. When he knocked on my door that Saturday afternoon, toolbox in hand, I had no idea that letting him in would set something much larger into motion. "Hey," he said, flashing that boyish grin that made it impossible not to smile back. "Heard you are having some plumbing troubles," I laughed, feeling suddenly shy under his gaze. "Yeah, the sink has been dripping non-stop. It is driving me crazy." "No problem," he said, stepping inside. "I will take a look." He set his tools down with a casual ease that made my small apartment feel different, somehow warmer, more alive. As he crouched under the sink, I leaned against the counter, trying not to stare, but failing miserably. There was something about the way his shirt stretched across his back, the way his hands moved confidently, that stirred a quiet flutter deep inside me. We talked as he worked small things at first. Work the weather favorite movies, but somehow the conversation slipped into deeper waters without either of us noticing. He told me about his childhood summers at his grandfather's farm, about how he had always loved fixing things because it made him feel useful. Grounded, I told him about my recent breakup, about the hollow ache it had left behind. His head popped out from under the sink, a smudge of grease on his cheek, and he gave me a look so full of genuine empathy that it took my breath away. "Some people," he said softly, "do not know how to handle a good thing when they have it." For a moment, the world outside my apartment ceased to exist. It was just him and me, the faint drip of the sink, an attention that hummed in the air like electricity before a storm here. He said, wiping his hands and standing up, "I think I have got it." He turned the faucet and the water ran smooth and clean. No more maddening drip. I clapped my hands together, laughing with real joy for the first time in weeks. "You are a lifesaver," I said, meaning it more than he could possibly know. Ryan shrugged his smile a little sheepish. It was nothing, but it was not nothing. I offered him a drink, and he accepted. We moved to the couch, and the space between us felt both dangerously close and unbearably wide. Conversation came easily, but every word, every glance carried a weight we both pretended not to feel. At one point, I reached for my glass and our fingers brushed. It should have been innocent, a simple accident, but the jolt that shot through me was anything but. I saw it in his eyes, too, the flicker of something unspoken, something forbidden. He cleared his throat and looked away, giving me a chance to pull back, to put walls up, but I did not. Instead, I leaned in just slightly, just enough to test the air between us. He noticed. Oh, he noticed. His gaze darkened, and for a heartbeat neither of us moved. The clock ticked loudly on the wall. Outside, the world went on unaware, but in that tiny, suspended moment, everything changed. He shifted closer, so close that I could feel the heat of him against my skin. His hand brushed against mine again, slower this time, deliberate. I felt my breath hitch, my heart pounding like it wanted to break free from my chest. Still, he hesitated. Still, I did not move away. There was a question in his eyes, a silent asking, and without words, without permission, my heart answered first. The silence between us was a living thing, growing and twisting until it wrapped itself around my heart, squeezing tight. I did not know who moved first. Maybe it was him, maybe it was me. But suddenly the space between us vanished. Ryan's hand found my cheek, rough fingers trembling ever so slightly against my skin. His thumb brushed just beneath my eye, tracing the path of a tear I did not realize had fallen. His touch was impossibly gentle, as if he feared I might break if he pushed too hard. "You have been carrying it all alone," he whispered. Those 6 words shattered something inside me. I leaned into his palm, eyes fluttering shut, allowing myself for the first time in so long to simply feel. No walls, no pretending. When I opened my eyes again, he was still there, still holding me like I was something precious. And slowly, carefully, he dipped his head closer. The first brush of his lips against mine was feather-light, so soft that it might have been a dream. It was not desperate or urgent. It was an offering, a question. I answered by rising to meet him, pressing my mouth more firmly to his. The kiss deepened gradually, like a tide rolling in, unstoppable and inevitable. His arms wrapped around me, pulling me into the safe, solid warmth of his body. I clutched at the front of his shirt, needing something to anchor me as the ground seemed to tilt beneath my feet. The world outside my apartment, outside this moment, ceased to matter. He kissed me like he had all the time in the world, like there was nowhere else he would rather be. His lips explored mine, patient and thorough, drawing out tiny, helpless sounds from the back of my throat that only made him pull me closer. Without breaking the kiss, Ryan gently shifted me, guiding me backward until I was lying against the couch, his body hovering protectively over mine. His eyes searched my face, looking for hesitation, for fear. All he found was an aching need that mirrored his own. He kissed the corner of my mouth, the line of my jaw, the hollow of my throat, each press of his lips sending sparks skittering down my spine. His hands roamed with reverent slowness, tracing the curve of my waist, the dip of my hip, as if memorizing every inch. When his fingers found the hem of my shirt, he paused, giving me a chance to stop him. I nodded, breathless heart hammering wildly against my ribs. With infinite tenderness, he slid the fabric upward, exposing skin inch by tantalizing inch. His mouth followed, planting open-mouthed kisses along the newly revealed paths, each one searing me with its intensity. I arched into him, craving more, needing more. Ryan's hands were steady but gentle as he explored, as if I were something fragile and precious. Every touch, every caress was a silent promise. "I see you, I want you. You are safe with me." I ran my hands through his hair, threading my fingers into the soft strands, pulling him closer. I could feel the restraint in him, the careful way he held back, waiting for my every signal, my every breath. When he finally removed his own shirt, I could not help but drink him in the defined muscles, the scars, the humanity of him. He was beautiful in a way that was real, unpolished. Beautiful in a way that made me ache. He kissed me again, deeper this time, his body pressing against mine in a way that left no question about what he wanted, about what I wanted. Still, he moved slowly, deliberately, as if savoring every second. His hands slid lower, finding the waistband of my jeans. He looked into my eyes, asking the unspoken question once again. "Are you sure?" His voice was a low, rough whisper. I am sure I breathed, my voice barely audible. He undressed me with the same reverence, kissing every new patch of exposed skin as if it were sacred. By the time I was fully bare beneath him, I felt stripped not just of clothing but of every burden, every sorrow, every piece of armor I had worn for too long. And then he joined me. Skin against skin, heat against heat. The first moment of connection stole the breath from my lungs. It was not rushed, it was not frantic. It was a slow, exquisite merging that felt less like an act of passion and more like a homecoming. We moved together in a rhythm as old as time, finding each other again and again in the dark. His name spilled from my lips in broken gasps, mingling with my moans, my cries. He whispered mine against my skin, over and over like a prayer. The pleasure built gradually, layer upon layer, until it was almost too much to bear. My body trembled beneath his. My heart stretched to its limit with feeling. When release finally came, it crashed over me in blinding waves, pulling a sob from the depths of my soul. Ryan held me through it, whispering soothing words, grounding me with his touch. He followed moments later, his own release shuddering through him, with a raw, vulnerable beauty that left me breathless. Afterward, he gathered me into his arms, pressing a lingering kiss to my forehead. We lay there, tangled together, hearts pounding in shared rhythm. There were no walls between us anymore. No pretending, no fear. Only this fierce, unexpected connection that neither of us had seen coming. I traced lazy patterns on his chest with my fingertips, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath my touch. He tightened his arms around me in response, a silent promise that he was not going anywhere. In the soft, fragile quiet that followed, Ryan spoke. "I have wanted to be close to you for a long time," he admitted, voice low and rough, "but I did not think you would ever see me." The same way I lifted my head, meeting his gaze, I think I was too scared to see anything at all, I confessed. He smiled, a slow, breathtaking smile that made my heart twist painfully in my chest. "Not anymore," he said. "No," I whispered, pressing my forehead to his. "Not anymore." And in that moment, wrapped in each other's arms, we both realized that sometimes the things you think are broken beyond repair can still be fixed, if you have the courage to let someone in. Lying there in the fading warmth of Ryan's arms, I felt a different kind of fear creeping in, the kind that whispers all the ways things could still fall apart. The world outside these walls had not changed. Life would still find ways to pull us back into the chaos, the obligations, the expectations. I could feel Ryan's breathing steady against my skin, but my own chest tightened with the weight of unspoken doubts. What if this was just a moment? What if tomorrow brought regrets neither of us could voice? I shifted slightly, trying to chase away the thoughts, but Ryan noticed. His hand slid up my back in a slow, reassuring motion. "You are overthinking again," he murmured against my hair. I gave a soft, broken laugh, embarrassed at how easily he could read me. "It is hard not to." He pulled back just enough to see my face, his thumb brushing my lower lip. "Talk to me." The words were simple, but they unraveled me. For so long, I had been the one holding it together for everyone else. I had buried my needs, my fears so deeply that even I had forgotten where they lived inside me. Now, with Ryan looking at me like nothing I said could scare him away, the dam broke. "I am scared," I admitted, voice trembling. "I am scared this will change everything between us, that we will lose whatever this is, or worse, that I will mess it up." He listened without interruption, his gaze never wavering, never judging. "I am not used to needing anyone," I whispered, "and needing you, it terrifies me." Ryan exhaled slowly, his forehead resting against mine. "I am scared too," he confessed. "You think you are the only one who has walls? I built entire fortresses around myself." I blinked, startled. Ryan, who always seemed so calm, so grounded, he was just as afraid. "But you let me in," he said softly, "and I am not going to let you run, just because it is easier than trusting someone." His words hit harder than any embrace. I felt the sting of tears, but this time I did not look away. I let him see all of it. The vulnerability, The broken pieces, the desperate hope fighting against the fear. He kissed the corner of my mouth slow and lingering. We will figure it out together. I wanted to believe him more than anything. I wanted to believe him, but deep inside a voice whispered that real life was not a fairy tale. People made promises they could not keep. Love did not always conquer fear. Still, as I lay there feeling the steady beat of his heart, I realized something important. Even if it was messy, even if it was complicated, even if it broke me again, I would rather risk it than go back to the emptiness I had known before him. Ryan seemed to sense my silent decision. He pulled me closer, wrapping me fully in his arms, like he could shield me from the doubts clawing at my mind. "We are not perfect," he said against my ear. "We will probably fight, we will screw up, but I am not going anywhere unless you tell me to." I closed my eyes, breathing in the quiet certainty of his words. The tension inside me loosened slightly, though it never completely vanished. Maybe it never would. Maybe love was not about finding someone who erased all your fears, but someone who chose to stay anyway. We stayed like that for a long time, wrapped around each other, letting the silence say what words could not. Eventually, Ryan tilted my chin up, forcing me to meet his eyes once more. "I want all of it," he said fiercely. "Your good days, your bad days, your doubts, your stubbornness, everything." My throat tightened painfully. I could only nod, overwhelmed by the intensity of what he was offering. A slow smile curved his lips, the kind that reached his eyes and warmed me to my bones. "And I want you to want all of me too, even the parts that are a mess." "I already do," I whispered. Voice breaking, relief flickered across his face, raw and real. And in that moment, despite all the fear, despite all the uncertainty, I realized something beautiful. This was not about fixing each other. It was about choosing each other over and over, no matter how imperfect the pieces might be. Maybe that was what real love looked like. Maybe it was enough. Weeks passed, but the feeling between Ryan and me did not fade. It deepened. We fell into a rhythm that was not perfect, but was real. Morning coffees turned into long talks about life, about fears we had never voiced to anyone else. Quick touches in passing became anchors on difficult days. Sometimes doubts still whispered in my ear. Sometimes I caught Ryan staring at me like he was trying to memorize the moment, afraid it would slip away. But instead of running from those fears, we talked about them. We faced them like two people who had decided to stop hiding. One rainy afternoon, while fixing a stubborn kitchen drawer together, Ryan paused and looked at me with a soft smile. "You know," he said, "this was never about plumbing." I laughed, a real deep laugh that shook something loose inside me. It never was. I agreed, feeling the truth settle warmly in my chest. It had always been about something more, something real, something worth risking everything for. As the rain tapped gently against the windows, Ryan pulled me into his arms and kissed me, not urgently, not desperately, but like a promise quietly made. And this time, I let myself believe it. I let myself stay, not because everything was certain, but because, for the first time, I had found someone who would stand with me in all the uncertainty and call it love. What started as a simple act of kindness, just a neighbor helping with a leaky sink, turned into something I never saw coming. It wasn't about plumbing. It wasn't even about the sink. It was about two people, both lonely in different ways, crossing a line neither of us planned to cross. But now I ask myself, was it just a moment of weakness, or something we both needed even if we couldn't admit it out loud? Some might say it was harmless. Others will call it a betrayal of boundaries, of morals, maybe even of trust. But here's the truth. Human connection doesn't always follow rules, and sometimes the most unexpected moments leave the deepest mark. So, what do you think? Was this just an innocent mistake, or the beginning of something more complicated? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear the truth, even if it stings. Follow me so I have more motivation to create raw, honest stories like this, or simply encourage me by pressing number 1. Your support means everything.